Well, before we get into the soccer, we have to go into last night against Walsh. You actually had probably the closest view as they get. You were one of the, what is it, the side judges, the line judges
the
there?
The line judges, yeah.
How was that? How did that go for you?
It was terrible, to say the least. It was my first time ever doing it, and it showed. I confused a lot of signals. I give them a lot of credit, actually. I never really paid attention to it before. So.
Yeah, Kevin and I were talking on the side last night. It was fun. You seemed to get the hang of it as the match wore down, though.
Yeah, as it went on and on and on, I learned to stop cheering for the team and start actually paying attention to the game. And I'm completely not biased, I swear.
Okay, so
well, you had, sorry, Andrew, but you had to picture Kevin and giving you the exchange, going to you, is it okay if you're going to be in line?
Kevin Taylor is, I love him, he's a sweetheart. He was, I just said yes because he was kind of like talking. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it, got it.
All right, Andrew.
Okay, well, moving on back to the soccer realm, I guess. Your last game was on Friday, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then your next game is going to be against Damon on this Saturday. And then you have a couple more games really sporadically. So how are you kind of handling, I mean, last week you had, I think, 3 games, and now you have 3 games within the span of 2 weeks. So how do you handle, what's the difference between having games all together like that and then really sporadic games like you do for the next couple weeks here?
I think I love playing games in that little span of time, like going on a road trip and just going game. It really keeps you focused from one game to the next. It's definitely hard to keep that momentum, to keep that spirit, to keep going and push through it. And I mean, definitely there's some fatigue, but that just means you have to go to bed really super early and stay out of trouble. But I prefer it because if we get one win, then it makes our whole road trip. But we need to be able to bounce back from a loss, like we had on Friday.
Earlier in the season, it was a very rough stretch for you guys. Was it just, I'd heard that Emily was on Point Park Sports Beat on one of the first Friday shows, and she had discussed how it was kind of, Coach Mark Platts had a new kind of an idea, a new dynamic with organizing the players. How do you think the growing pains have helped you kind of now get on that win streak that you had earlier in the season?
We've come a long way from the very beginning of the season. I mean, we started off playing a nationally ranked team in California, and it definitely showed that we are a young team. He brought in so many young recruits and so many transfers and everything else, and we're finally hitting that point where we're clicking. We know what each other wants to do with the ball, where we're going to be. Who likes to shoot left-footed, who likes to shoot right-footed, who can't shoot left-footed at all. We are really starting to come together, and I mean, every team goes through growing pains at some point. We just unfortunately had ours at the very beginning of the season, but I mean, that's when you want to have them, because then you peak in the tournament times, which I think we will do.
Okay, so you have some conference games, coming up. You have Damon next, not Damien, as I said last week, Damon. You have you're at Houghton, at Roberts Wesley, and at Walsh, at Damon, or at home against Damon again, and then I think you're at Carlo again after that.
Yeah.
So you're 3-2 in a conference right now. How important is the stretch coming up against all those conference teams? I think that's 5 straight there, going down the stretch run for the year.
That's going to make or break our year. That is time when we really need to step up and get these wins, because we are sitting at a point right now where we're actually over 500 for one of the first times in history in the conference, and we just need to keep rolling and get through it and make the conference, make the playoffs. Because I mean, Walsh is one of our hardest competition, but they're going for D2 this year, so they don't count for anything. So that opens it wide open for us to get in there.
You look at Christina Stammers really come in and made an impact right away. What do you think of her and complementing with Kylie Williams and some of the others to make a potent offensive attack for the team?
I cannot brag enough about Stammer. Stammer is everything. She is everywhere at all times. And you look at her, and when you first see her, she's like this little short girl, but she goes up against people, and she always lands on her feet, whereas they're usually eating turf. So it's her and Kylie hook up so well. Her and all of our forwards. I mean, she's definitely one of the driving forces behind our offense. If we didn't have her, we would have nothing. I firmly believe that.
Okay, well, the team has 3 shutout wins this season, and you have 1 complete game shutout. That was against Carlo last week. And then you and Liz Velez share the other 2 shutouts that you have so far this season. How do you, share the time? Is it up to Coach Platts, or do you just switch in and out? Kind of, you tell each other when you want to go in. How do you handle that?
Platts runs us very well. It's completely his decision, and I stand behind his decision because Liz Velez is a senior this year, so every moment that she can get in a game, I'm all for it, because she needs to get the credit that she deserves for putting in 4 solid years. And coming back after injuries like that, like she tore her ligaments in her knee and she broke her face last year. I mean, bouncing back from that, she deserves every ounce of respect she can get.
Let me see, where am I going to go with this? Defense, you hear a lot in sports, defense wins championships. How much does that statement hold true for your team?
Oh, it definitely does. Our defense is a wall this year. I can't, just like Stammer, I can't talk enough about my defense. I love them. Between Maeve Gallagher and Angie Abel, a freshman coming in, being in the middle, and then usually Larkins on the outside, and we have a couple other people that fill in, and Destiny James she's killing it this year on defense. While we don't make a lot of goals, I mean, we've had a lot of scoring opportunities against teams, but we don't always finish them through. Our defense has been solid, rock solid all year. I mean, we gave up 3 goals against Houghton, and I think that's the most we've had, I'm not sure, except for when we were in California. And that in and of itself was just a surprising thing. So I'm looking forward to playing with these girls in New York.
Okay, so getting back to the conference a little more, I remember I asked Coach Platts at the beginning of the year, how important is winning the conference games to make the playoffs and so forth. He said that's the most important thing. The only way you make the playoffs is by winning the conference games. So do you think that still stands true for the team, that your main focus would be on the conference games, going down the stretch of the season here?
I'd back that statement 100%. Conference games are everything. I mean, they're your toughest competition, and those are the games that we as a team get most pumped up for, and also most of the time fans come to. So that always helps, because I mean, fan support we get pumped up in and of ourselves, but to have people there on the sideline cheering just as loudly makes a huge difference. And the conference games, they are the biggest time of year. It's like Christmas for us. We can't wait for them.
For those of you just tuning in, this is A to Z Sports, and we're here with keeper Anna Shaw. Anna, what do you make of the new assistant coach Amanda Munch that has now joined the team? How has she fit into the mold of the team?
She's fit in very well. She balances us out very well, because she is very reserved and very quiet, whereas the rest of us are like a rambunctious group of little kids. It's kind of hard to keep our energy contained. But she talks with authority. She's gotten better. She is a brand new assistant coach. We actually played against her last year. So she's really coming into her own, where she knows how to address us, knows how to be that person to come to if we don't feel like we can go to Platts or something.
Okay, so you mentioned the fan vans and how nice it is for all the people to come out and have them cheering on the sidelines whenever you're playing games. And I remember against Carlo, there were a bunch of kids there, and they were really getting into it. Does that make you want to win more, or does that put more pressure on you, would you say? How does having a lot of fans at the game, and when you play a couple of stadiums, obviously you're getting closer to here, so more people come. What does that do to you and the rest of the team?
It definitely puts a lot more pressure on us, but I feel like it's all entirely positive pressure. I mean, I know I personally look for my friends when they come. I'm like warming up, trying to be focused, but then I'm like, hey, how are you guys? Wave to them. It definitely sets the tone for the game. Because especially in our New York trips, and that's why they're so difficult, is we go to schools that they have a giant campus and all their kids go to their games because that's all they have to do on a Saturday. And we don't usually have that because our field's so far away, but when we have fan vans, and for the Carlo game, the Carlo game was insane, the amount of energy that was coming from the stands. And it really, I think, I mean, we played almost the entire second half. We played the entire second half with a man down. I think if we didn't have the fan presence that we had that game, we wouldn't have won. We would have tied, at least, because they really pushed us to go farther with that.
Earlier in the season, there was a glaring trend also when you guys were getting into the whole swing of things, and you guys were getting outshot by at times a higher margin. What do you think Platts and Munch and and company have done to try and erase that deficit and work it into an advantage?
We have definitely been doing shooting drills like crazy at practice. Being a goalkeeper, I can tell you that first and foremost. I have been shot on a lot more at practice, getting better workouts. They've implemented more shooting drills. They've instituted a rule that if you, in some of our drills, that if you pike the ball over the net like we had been doing at the beginning of the season, then we're going to have to do more sprints at the end of practice. And no soccer player, as much as we run, wants to run. So we've generally lowered our shots and put them more on target and just emphasized the need to miss the goalkeeper but hit the net.
So Coach Platts, and I'm again going back to that Carlo game, especially at the end of the game, he really, I was watching him on the sidelines, just, kind of jumping up and down, screaming yes, and you can see that, he's a, loud and animated guy during the games, but is he, normally that excitable, or was he really just excited for that game? Like you said, you play without, with I guess a woman down for the entire second half, actually 47 minutes of the game, which is more than half. So, is he normally like that? What's he like for the team?
He's usually not like that at all. He's a very, very reserved man. To get any kind of excitable, loud, yelling, sort of energetic thing like that is a rare feat for him. He does yell, but it's more to direct. It's not necessarily yelling out of like, yes, good job, da da da. It's more of a direction sort of thing. But to see him in that game and to see how proud we made him and how energetic he was, I think that was another thing. Like the energy of the fans, the energy of the team itself, the whole it's Carlo and we hate them. It really put us all up there. It really gave us all energy, including him.
Last question, we'll get you out on this one. We'll actually have one more follow-up. But how much do you keep up to date with the other Point Park sports teams that are on campus sticking to? I know you were at the game last night for volleyball.
I try to go to everything possible. I haven't been to a cross-country meet ever, but that's kind of hard because I hate running and I hate watching running because I'd do enough of it at practice. But I've been to almost every volleyball game that I could be at. Two of my roommates are volleyball players, Taylor and Chelsea, so I go and support them as much as possible because it's important for, being such a small school, it's important for each sport team to support each other. And if I go to their game, they're going to come to my game.
All right, we're doing a kind of an athlete poll question. Bison, green or brown?
Oh, green. Has to be green. Yeah, has to be green. It's my favorite color, and it's our school color, and it sets us apart, and it just makes it better, I think.